All right, welcome back. We're diving deep into those box office numbers, the ones everyone's been talking about, but it's not just about the raw figures, is it?
Right.
It's like what those figures tell us about, well, trends in Hollywood, what's really grabbing the audience's attention.
Absolutely.
And maybe even what you might be adding to your watch list.
Oh, for sure.
So
Yeah.
we've got these news articles, right, about the weekend box office, focusing on two big releases.
All right.
And honestly,
yeah,
one of them is kind of a shocker.
Really?
A Broadway adaptation just like shattered box office records.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
It really does make you wonder, like, what's going on?
I know.
This kind of goes against what we've been seeing in Hollywood lately.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Okay, so we're talking Wicked, right?
Yes.
The one with Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande.
That's the one.
It brought in, get this, $114 million.
Wow.
Just the opening weekend.
Domestically?
Domestically, yeah.
Wow.
That is the biggest opening ever for a movie adapted from Broadway.
That's huge.
And globally, a total of $164.2 million.
Those are some serious numbers.
I know.
You're right. It is unexpected.
Yeah.
I mean, movie musicals have been having a tough time at the box office. They haven't been a guaranteed win.
So what do you think happened with Wicked? Did they crack the code
Well,
on how to bring Broadway to the big screen?
Well, there are a few things at play here.
Okay.
But Wicked had a huge advantage out of the gate.
Like what?
A massive pre-existing fan base.
Oh, yeah.
This is based on one of the most beloved Broadway musicals ever.
Right.
People are already, like, deeply connected to this story, to the characters.
It's like tapping into an already existing.
Exactly. It's a built-in audience,
Yeah.
And that built-in audience, that translates into word-of-mouth marketing on a massive scale.
Oh, for sure.
Like, we're seeing a lot of studios banking on familiar stories.
Right.
Whether it's from books, comics, video games, or in this case, the stage.
Right, yeah.
But they were initially projecting Wicked to open around, like, the $80 million mark.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What do you make of that jump?
That's a huge difference.
It is.
It makes you wonder if even the studios are sometimes underestimating the power of these fandoms.
There's definitely an element of that, yeah.
Yeah.
But I also think the marketing for Wicked was really, really smart.
Okay.
Like, they tapped into that existing fan base, played on the nostalgia and excitement, and generated a lot of positive buzz before the film even opened.
I bet.
Word of mouth is so powerful.
It is.
Especially when you've got people just raving about a movie.
I've also heard people say that, adaptation or not, it's just a good movie.
Right.
They did a good job with the story.
And that's crucial,
Yeah.
Wicked didn't just rehash the stage production.
Yeah.
It offered a fresh take on a familiar story, which I think makes it appealing even to those who may not be diehard fans of the musical.
So it's drawing in a wider audience.
Exactly.
So Wicked comes in as the third highest domestic opening of 2024.
Wow.
Right behind Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay.
And Inside Out 2.
That's pretty impressive company.
That's huge. That puts it in a whole different league.
It really does.
Doesn't it?
And it says a lot about the variety we're seeing in successful films this year. You've got superhero action, animated family fun, and now this musical fantasy epic.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a real hunger for all these different genres right now.
Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the other big release this weekend, Gladiator II.
Okay.
It pulled in a respectable $55.5 million domestically. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
But it did fall short of those initial projections,
Oh, really?
which were somewhere between 60 and 80 million. What do you think happened there? Were people just not as excited for this one?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
We've been seeing a lot of sequels underperform lately.
Yeah.
And this could be another case of what we call sequel fatigue.
Sequel fatigue.
It's possible audiences are craving something new.
Okay.
Like original stories rather than just another installment in a franchise.
That makes sense.
Or maybe Wicked just kind of stole the show this weekend,
Yeah.
and pulled away some of that Gladiator audience.
Yeah, so the competition might have played a role.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's also possible the marketing for Gladiator II didn't quite hit the mark.
In what way?
Maybe the trailers didn't capture the essence of the film, or maybe they didn't resonate with the right audience.
Right. Yeah.
There are a lot of factors that go into a successful marketing campaign.
Yeah.
And sometimes even a slight miscalculation can have a significant impact on those box office numbers.
But even with those domestic numbers, Gladiator II still managed to, rack up a global total of $221 million by the end of the weekend.
Wow. Okay.
That's got to count for something.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
This is a prime example of how crucial those international markets are becoming.
Okay.
Especially for these big budget films.
Mm-hmm.
Studios are no longer solely reliant on domestic audiences to make a profit.
Right.
They're looking to markets like China, Europe, Latin America to really drive those box office successes.
So are you saying Hollywood is becoming more globally minded?
Without a doubt, yeah.
Wow.
And filmmakers are having to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
They need to consider cultural nuances, different tastes and preferences, and how their stories might translate across borders.
Yeah.
It's a new set of challenges, but it also presents a fantastic opportunity to connect with a much wider audience than ever before.
So it's both a challenge and an opportunity.
Absolutely.
It's interesting how that works.
What's really interesting about Wicked's success is what it might tell us about Hollywood strategies going forward. Could this be like the start of a whole new wave of movie musicals?
Now, that's a question I bet a lot of people are asking.
Right.
Broadway adaptations haven't always been a sure thing.
True.
Right. Some have been amazing, but there have been some pretty spectacular flops, too.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's precisely why Wicked's triumph is so noteworthy.
Right.
It feels like Hollywood might be paying attention, realizing that if you get the right story, the right cast, and you nail that marketing, movie musicals can still be a major draw for audiences.
But it's not just about musicals, is it?
No.
I mean, Wicked's success also speaks to the power of these built-in fandoms. I mean, think about it. Yeah. The Wicked fan base was already massive.
Huge.
People were passionate about this story, long before a movie was even on the horizon.
Exactly. They essentially skipped the whole introducing the world stage and went straight to welcome back.
Right.
Capitalizing on years of pre-existing enthusiasm.
Yeah, and that translates into powerful word-of-mouth marketing.
Absolutely.
Which, as we saw with Wicked, can be a game changer.
Huge.
So does this mean we should, brace ourselves for a tidal wave of adaptations?
Yeah.
Is Hollywood going to start churning out movies based on every popular book, musical, video game out there?
It's tempting for studios to, stick with what they know works.
Right.
Especially when taking a chance on original ideas can feel,
risky.
So risky.
Right, because not all adaptations are created equal.
Right.
Some fall flat.
Exactly. There's a real art to it.
Yeah.
You need to find that sweet spot between honoring the source material and bringing something new and exciting to the screen.
Yeah.
And Wicked did that brilliantly by offering a fresh perspective on a beloved story. And I think that's a big part of why it's resonated so deeply.
So there's still room for originality and innovation, even within the world of adaptations.
Absolutely. In fact, that's where I think the real magic happens.
Oh. Yeah.
It's about finding those stories that have that universal appeal.
Right.
The power to connect with a broad audience, even if they aren't based on some pre-existing intellectual property.
Now let's shift gears for a moment.
Okay.
And talk about the international market.
Right.
Gladiator II might not have lived up to expectations here in the U.S.
Yeah.
But its global success really highlights how the film industry is changing.
Yeah, it's a trend that's been building for years now. International